Hello and welcome to this exciting Love Reading for Kids author event. I'm Amy McKay and I am delighted to be joined today by Liana and Maddison, who are in Penrith in Cumbria. Hi girls.
Hi.
So Liana and Maddison have the really exciting job of interviewing Lucie Ebrey to talk about her new graphic novel, which is called Cowgirls and Dinosaurs, Big Trouble in Little Spittle. It's published by Piccadilly Press on the 6th of June. But before I hand over to Liana and Maddison, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lucie first. So fingers crossed, I've done my research right and I get all of these facts correct. Lucie Ebrey is a queer cartoonist and illustrator from Birmingham. She's been drawing comics since she was 7 years old, and she has had lots and lots of different stories published. I'm told she's a little bit obsessed with comics. I'm sure some of you watching are as well, so it'd be exciting to hear about that. And when she's not reading, writing, or drawing comics, she enjoys horror films and video games. Lucie, did I get my research right?
You got absolutely spot on it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's really lovely to meet you. We've
Brilliant.
all loved this book. It's funny, it's quirky, it's colourful, it's everything. It really is. I know the girls are so excited to talk about it as well, but I loved every moment of it. I am aware, though, that not all of our audience will yet have been lucky enough to read it. So before I hand over to Liana and Maddison, could I ask you please to tell the audience a little bit about Cowgirls and Dinosaurs?
Yeah, absolutely. Cowgirls and Dinosaurs is an adventure comic. It follows Abigail and Clementine, two rivals. Abigail is a vigilante who lives on the outskirts of town. Clementine is actually the deputy of Little Spittle, the town from the title. They have been rivals since they were children. Abigail always wants to have sort of respect, sort of acclaim that comes with the deputy title. And Clementine, her dad is the sheriff, so she kind of gets it just from her dad being the sheriff. But she is also really capable, and so she has a lot of an imposter syndrome. So when the villainous bandit queen comes to town with her evil triplet brothers to steal a treasure that was hidden in the kind of vault of the town, it's up to the girls to team up begrudgingly to try and rescue the town that gets kidnapped in Bandit Queen's sort of failed kind of heist, I suppose. And they traveled across the desert. There's a bunch of sort of Wild West kind of stopping points. There's like a train robbery. There's like loads of gulches. There's lots of desert, and there's lots of dinosaurs.
Fantastic. I love that mix. In amongst all of that, there's lots of dinosaurs.
Lots of
It
dinosaurs.
really is such a fun book to read. There's so much going on. There's some great female characters. I could talk about it all morning, and there's so much I would like to ask you about it. But I know that if I did that, Liana and Maddison will absolutely kill me because they've been excited for weeks to ask you lots of questions. So, girls, you're all right. I am going to shut up. I'm going to hand over to you and let you talk to Lucie, okay?
Right.
There you go, all yours.
Hi Lucy, nice to meet you. Personally, love Cowgirls and Dinosaurs, but now we just have a few questions we'd like to ask you. For example, have you always wanted to be an author, or is it something that you just recently found out you wanted to do?
Oh no, I always wanted to be an author, especially like a cartoonist. Like I think that was my main thing. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with comics. Like I love the Beano. I still have like my Beano Club membership card from when I was like 8 years old. Yeah, I know I always wanted to be someone who told stories. And I knew that comics was like my favorite medium. I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to tell stories and I want to tell it through comics. And I think I've known that since I was really small.
On to you.
Hi Lucy, I thought Cowgirls and Dinosaurs was brilliant. What was your inspiration for writing it?
So when I got asked to see if I wanted to make a book a few years ago, I kind of wanted to put together all the things that I knew that I would have loved to see if I was a little kid. So when I was a kid, I loved dinosaurs. I liked the idea of like cowboys and just like this big open space that like you could just roam in, and it was just like vast and empty and beautiful. There's a lot of like magic in the story as well, so I was like, oh, I'll put some magic in there as well, why not? It was kind of just like a big cauldron of all the things that I knew that I would have been really excited to read about when I was a kid, and I just kind of stuffed it into the book. So that's kind of how I came about it, eh?
Right, so could you maybe tell us the process of writing a graphic novel? Like, what would come first, say? Would the illustrations or the writing?
So for a graphic novel, once you've pitched the idea to like a publisher, the way that works is you'll kind of come up with like an idea of the story, maybe the setting, or like something that really excites you. So for me, it was like, oh, I want to do something with cowgirls and dinosaurs. That's like a good setting point, like a good framing point. And then from there, it was kind of a matter of coming up with the story, like kind of a loose outline of the story. And then from there, you'll like make a script. So you write out what like the plot, what people say, what happens in the story. And then with comics, because it's such a visual medium, you need to do something called thumbnails, which are basically really rough layout sketches of what the pages are going to look like. So you kind of have an idea of how the story is going to flow, how many pages it's going to be, so you know how to plan ahead. And then from there, you do the pencils, which is the the rough artwork. And then once that's done, you do the inks. So that's like the final line work. And then I was lucky enough that I got a colorist on board. So all of the colors in the book weren't provided by me. They were provided by a really talented colorist and artist called Boya Sun. He came in and did all of the colors for me, like a sweet angel, because I did not have it in me to do all those colors. Oh my goodness. And yeah, and then so from there, and then once that's all done, you can finally add the lettering and the word balloons. So comics is a very long pipeline process. So it takes a minute to get it done.
Did you prefer the writing or the drawing part?
Oh, definitely the drawing part. When you're drawing, you get to, I think I've always been someone who's been more excited about the idea of sitting down and drawing and kind of coming up with things as I go. Writing is lovely, writing is amazing. But when you're writing, you have to really pay attention and focus. And when I'm drawing, I get to listen to podcasts and like listen to songs. When you're writing, you really have to focus. You can't be distracted. And I think when it's writing, because it is like the skeleton of the story, it just feels a bit more intimidating. I think I much prefer to be in the drawing stage.
So, at the book, you've already kind of answered this, but mentions a colorist. Do they just supply colors, or do they color in the drawings as well?
So they provided the colors. There were a few times where I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted the scene to look like. Obviously, when I was working on it, because I was just working in black and white with just my ink pen, I didn't really know what I wanted the colors to look like. So it was really interesting having him come in and provide insight, because it really made me realize, oh, this scene would look really beautiful if it was like a sunset. And it really just helped bring things to life. So he didn't provide any actual drawings to the project, but he did bring a lot of the personality, I think, to a lot of the scenes to the project.
Right.
You've illustrated other people's stories in the past. Is it better illustrating your own stories or others?
So I think it really depends. Like, I've been on projects before where I've been just really excited by the story that I've been part of with other people. But selfishly, I think there is a little part of me that's like a little bit more excited about doing my own stuff. There is that thing where it's like, oh, this is my story. I get to tell what I want to tell. I get to lay it out how I want to lay it out. So yeah, I think I'm a little bit more excited and like happy to work on my own things. Yeah.
Awesome. Amy said at the start that you adore comics. What is it about them that you love the most?
I think it's just the sort of, you really get the sense of like a person's voice for a comic. Obviously, like we just mentioned, you have like comics where someone will do the writing, someone might do the illustration on the project. But I think with comics, it's a very unique medium where you really can be the director of the entire project. Because if this was essentially, aside from the colors, this was a one-woman production. So it was very much like I was the director. I could sort of set out the pacing, how I wanted everyone to look, how I wanted the world to be. And you really don't get that level of control so easily in any other medium. Comics are really accessible. As long as you have like a pen and paper, you can make a comic. And that's really all you need. And I think that's really beautiful that you can have that that level of an access to just like an entire world of imagination with just a pen and paper. I think that's really beautiful.
Which is your favorite comic?
Ooh, that's really tough. My favorite comic really flip-flops depending on how I'm feeling during the week. Like it changes like in different stages of my life. When I was a kid, obviously, I was ride or die with the Beano. I think I had like, God, I think I must have had like 1,000 copies of the Beano when I was a kid. As I've gotten older, there's some like books that I really love. Blankets by Craig Thompson is a really beautiful book. Really beautiful artwork that really inspired me when I was a child. Yeah, I think I'm really trying hard to think about my favorite cover. This is really tricky. I really it changes day to day, I think, is the answer for that one.
Which comics would you recommend to somebody our age who's just starting to read them?
Oh, so there's quite a few good ones out at the moment. I definitely recommend by Sarah Grayley. I believe it's called Glitch. That came out a few years ago. I actually was using that book a lot as a reference when I was working on my own book, just because it was about like a similar size, kind of similar vibe of story. And Sarah's a good friend of mine, so they were really a big inspiration. I think my undoubtable, like the book I would push on kids the most would be the Bone series of books by Jeff Smith. They are incredibly fun to read. They're so beautifully drawn and they're just really exciting. I think they are like maybe the perfect kids comic book. So if Bone by Jeff Smith is probably my best answer.
Right, we'd really like to see some of the book. Please could you share some pages with us?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. What I've got here is a PDF of the book. So obviously it looks a bit funny seeing it on a screen when it's supposed to be out in print. But this is when you open the book, this is like the first page you'd see, the little intro page. And then I've obviously got the title page here, a nice little scenery here with kind of encompassing the entire vibe of the book into like one image. So we've got this really big canyon, but then obviously we've got like the pterodactyl on these big eggs being left there in the nest, and then we've got some brachiosaur, and then we've got one of our main characters, Abigail, here reading a comic, which I thought would be just nice to add in, resting her little cowboy hat on her boots. This here is Root Beer. He's her Parasaurolophus buddy and her like best friend and steed. And so the book opens up with a little bit of a sort of setting the scene, as it were. So like millions of years ago, that kind of classic thing where an asteroid is going to hit the planet, wipe out all the dinosaurs. But in this one, it just completely misses and lands kind of snugly in this mountaintop. And whilst it causes destruction, you can kind of see here the dinosaurs near the kind of meteor site get turned into stone just from the impact. Human life doesn't actually get wiped out, and dinosaur life doesn't get wiped out, and neither do humans. So they end up living in harmony with all the other animals. So it's kind of a little change to the status quo, and you kind of see how the humans and dinosaurs work together in this kind of new setup of society. But as people are exploring the meteor site, they find this weird heart-shaped rock in the center of the meteor. And when they extract it, they just get really bad vibes from this horrible rock. So much so that they leave it to the League of Sheriffs, which is kind of like the kind of law of the land. They're the ones who are in control of making sure everything's going okay. Everyone trusts the League of Sheriffs, and so they hide it away, fearing that it's a little. They get weird vibes off it, so they hide it away in the one place nobody would ever think to go, because it's just absolutely in the middle of nowhere. No one's ever going to go. So they hide it in Little Spittle, which is just a cute little quaint town. And unfortunately, Bandit Queen, who is the big bad teen villain of the desert, she's got these three little stinker brothers called the Scug Brothers. And they figure out that there's a super rare, why are they hiding it away kind of heart in the town of Little Spittle. So they pretend to get arrested so that they've got access to the kind of vaults where the heart's being hidden. So they hide some spoons in one of the brothers, who grossly pukes it out. And so they dig underground from their cell, and there they find the heart. And they're very ready to take it back to Bandit Queen and begin whatever evil plan she has enacted for the heart. This is where we meet one of our main characters, Abigail, who realizes that the Scug Brothers are nearby, and that can't be any good whatsoever from their extremely nice shoe prints. Tracks them down, sees that they're resting for a minute with their heart, gloating about their victory, and rides in to stop them with her buddy Root Beer. The Skug brothers are cocky and think, oh, we can take her. No, they cannot. They get their butts whooped. And yeah, so she brings them back to Little Spittle thinking, ooh, this is it. This is how I get my in now. They're gonna really give me the position of deputy. I stopped the Skug brothers and got whatever treasure this is. This is definitely room for promotion for me. No, it's not. The sheriff absolutely hates her because she's annoying. She's always asking for like things that she feels like she deserves, not realizing that we've got Clementine, our other main character, who's doing a really good job being the deputy. She's an absolute sweetie. You can see here she's got kind of a wall of accolades. She does a really good job, much to Abigail's chagrin. And yeah, so in her petty, I should definitely be the deputy, not you, Clementine. She pulls out the heart, kind of be like, well, I rescued this, you know, you made sure it disappeared. Maybe I should definitely be the deputy. And in their kind of squabbling, accidentally whaps Clementine up the side of the head with it, and obviously realizes, oh no, that's really bad. I can't go back from that. Like, I didn't mean to hit her, but now this looks really awful. Even the Skug brothers are a bit like, ooh, that was a bit cheeky, shouldn't do that. Root Beer comes in and rescues her from the wrath of the sheriff, who, unlike Abigail was maybe expecting to maybe get thrown out the window for hitting his daughter upside the head, is just very disappointed in her, and is like, this is the way that you're acting right now. This isn't how a deputy should be acting. Like, unless you change your ways right now, you're never going to be deputy, and that's why I keep turning you down for the position. And in her upset, she leaves the town, feeling very guilty, but also very upset that this didn't go her way. And as she rides out into town, we know that Bandit Queen is actually very close by, knows that her brothers have been recaptured, and is unfortunately going to have to step in herself and sort of seize control of the situation and make an in-person appearance, which nobody wants her to do because she's really, really scary and really, really strong. Yeah, so that's like that's the opening kind of the prologue to the story. And then from there, it just, everything goes wrong, and the two girls have to really pull together despite as you can see, their obvious kind of dislike of each other, to sort of save the day and save the town.
Thank you. That was fantastic.
Can I just say that was such a treat just to have you talk us through that, like,
Oh,
having read it, but then to have you explaining it and all those little details that are coming up on the screen and knowing what comes next. I really, really enjoyed that. I could have listened to you do that all the way through the book. Thank you. But I will shut up and hand back over to the girls. Sorry.
I really love Root Beer, Abigail's bright purple dinosaur. Do you have a favourite dinosaur in the book?
So I feel really biased when I was thinking about which dinosaur put in, because Root Beer is my favorite dinosaur. Parasaurolophus is my favorite of all time dinosaurs. I've just loved him ever since I was a kid. I don't know why. I think I just saw him when I was a kid and I was like, oh, that's so cool. But I will say I am really partial to Stegosaurus. I also think they're extremely good. And like, thinking of maybe doing a sequel to the book, like, I would definitely love to put a Triceratops in. I just think they're also really cool. So those are like my three main cool dinosaurs.
Did you base your dinosaurs on real dinosaurs?
So I tried to base them as much as I could. I kind of have the essence of the dinosaurs in there. I did like some research, kind of looking at different shapes, because dinosaurs come in so many bonkers sizes, and like different shapes. So there's like every dinosaur that's featured in there is based on like a real dinosaur. Even if I don't know their scientific name, there's definitely an image I saw in like an encyclopedia or on like a library or museum wiki that is like, that dinosaur is based off of.
If you could travel back in time, would you rather travel back to time of the dinosaurs or the Wild West?
Oh, Wild West, definitely. I want a big cowboy hat. I want to ride into the desert. I think that would just be extremely cool.
Are there any other time periods you would like to set a book in?
Ooh, that's really interesting. I think I definitely love to set a book in like the the period of like medieval England with like the Black Death. I feel like I could really write a scary story in that kind of time period for sure.
Sorry, butting in again. Would you have dinosaurs in medieval England?
Ooh, now that would be extremely cool. I'm trying to imagine
Imagine all the
things coming
nice
in.
helmets and that they could wear.
Yeah, definitely like a crown with like dinosaur like
Yeah.
horns sticking out. That'd be really sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's actually really cool. I'm like, maybe I should write that down.
So Amy mentioned at the start that you love video games. Cowgirls and Dinosaurs is a bit like a video game. Did you do that on purpose, or did it just kind of happen on its own?
I think it probably just happened on its own, but I think because I have played so many video games and I did spend, maybe waste, I like to think spend a lot of time when I was a kid playing video games. The kind of natural rhythm of video games, like moving from, you know, like quest to quest, town to town, I think is just unfortunately really useful for storytelling. So I feel like playing lots of like Zelda and Final Fantasy helped me form a good story. Then I'm not going to say those were wasted hours, actually.
Right, on to my probably favourite and most intriguing question. In the book, another sheriff mentions right here, well, indicates that Clementine's dad is an ex-prisoner.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of wondering, what did he go to jail for?
So I'm really glad that you noticed that, because I was really worried that would kind of like fly over people's heads a little bit. So it's a really nice question. I think what like I really wanted to do, and I sort of ran out of time to include, but my intention was that he was like a former bandit himself who had sort of kind of reformed his ways. And because Little Spittle is so out of the way and such a, to the League of Sheriffs at least, such a we don't really care about this town kind of town, he was given the sheriff position just out of like a, well, someone needs to be the sheriff, you might as well be the sheriff, but we don't actually respect your authority because number one, you're a former bandit, and number two, this town doesn't mean anything to us. So it's kind of like low stakes in their regards. So that's something I really wish I could have expanded on. But I think that's definitely why the League of Sheriffs have got such beef with Little Spittle.
Right. The character Abigail is very open about being ambitious and wanting to be the deputy sheriff. Are you ambitious like her?
So I like to think that I am. I'm also really competitive, which isn't a great trait. I always want to like be like, I kind of want to be the best one. But like I think I'm definitely ambitious, maybe to a fault. I think sometimes I don't take time to rest and sort of appreciate my victory. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, actually, that was a really cool thing that I did. I wish I hadn't been so ambitious at the time and realized that I'd achieved something really good and then not just moved on to the next thing. So I think there is a lot of Abigail in me. There's also a lot of Clementine in me as well.
Overall, are you more like Clementine, who is very prim and proper, or are you more like Abigail, who is none of those things?
So I would love to be more like Abigail outwardly in my day-to-day. But whenever I had to like, I found like Clementine was really easy to write for because Clementine is basically just how I am. Like I don't like conflict. I don't want to make people feel bad. I don't like standing up for myself too much, even if like that's something that I'm like, no, actually, I'm not in the wrong here. Why am I not standing up for myself? But Clementine is just I think there's a lot of being Clementine. I think I'm more Clementine than Abigail, unfortunately. I could use a bit more Abigail in my day-to-day.
Right, so loved this book. Kind of upset when it ended. Is there any chance you might get some more adventures for our amazing duo?
So I'm really working on it. I do have like an idea for a story. I do have like characters and sort of like a plot. I think the nice thing to do with a sequel is now we've kind of established the status quo is really being able to take these characters and put them in like a situation that's going to really build them up and develop them even more. Because when obviously you've got a first book, you're so focused on the setting and like introducing the characters and making people feel comfortable with the world that you've created. For this year's second book, I'd really love to like poke at Abigail and Clementine and sort of get them to like be in even more like situations where they really have to like work together or like maybe they get into a fight. Let's see how they even if it's like friends now, like what are they going to do like when they're put in a situation where they're like don't agree with each other? That's going to be even more painful because now they really like each other.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to be an author?
Oh, I think definitely, and it sounds really trite, and I know that people hear it all the time, and I know if I'd have heard it when I was younger, I'd be like, okay, fine. But like, it really is just like keep trying things. Like, don't stop trying things. Try and do it regularly. Try and do like a bunch of different sort of stories. Like, just keep doing, and like if you're gonna do something, don't work on like a big project. Work on something really small, like start really small, like maybe 2 pages, like do a 2-page story, even if it's like a short story or a comic. Start really small, and from there you'll work out like how fast you are, what you kind of like want to do. Like maybe you don't like doing big stories, maybe you only want to do short things, and that's completely fine. Yeah, sort of start small and go from there, but do it regularly, and like read a lot of things, and watch a lot of different things, get a lot of different inspiration from all over the place. Like a good thing about comics is because they are like a visual medium, there's a lot of crossover with like movies, like pacing and stuff. They kind of are quite similar in that regard. Definitely just absorb yourself in all kinds of different things. You may not like a lot of the stuff that you come across, and that's fine. Now you know you don't like it, but like just absorb as much as you can, and it'll kind of inform what you want to do in your voice, I think, is my best advice.
So are you working or thinking about any further projects that you can maybe tell us about?
So I do have a few things that are cooking in the background. Like every comic artist, I'm unfortunately working on like 3 different things at a time. I do have something planned, and I don't know if I can say who it's with. I don't know if that's like too soon, or like if I'm under some sort of NDA thing. But I am working on something that hopefully will come to fruition in the next year or so. And it's got cats and pirates in it, and that's all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
That's all the questions we have. So, Amy, on to you.
With me. Well, cats and pirates just sound intriguing. That sounds great. We'll look forward to that. Thank you. What a fantastic conversation, the three of you. I've just really, really enjoyed watching that. You've talked about so much. I've been taking notes as you were going, because as you were talking, I was like, I'm never going to remember all of this because they're covering so much. But you talked about the Beano and how important that had been, and mentioned some of your other work. I was really interested when you said that you enjoy listening as you work. So I just wanted to ask a really quick question there. What is it that you listen to? Is it music, audiobooks?
So I listen to all sorts. Like I am all over the place with my listening. They'll be listening to music. I've got like a very eclectic sense of like taste of music. Like I will listen to anything. Like my friends always joke that I don't have any separate playlists on Spotify. I just have one big playlist. Just one
do you do
giant
that thing where
playlist.
it's just liked songs? You just
Literally,
like
that's it. That's all I have. I'm not smart enough to break my music into how I'm feeling. And I've had this Spotify playlist for like 10 years. So it's just like 2,000 songs of like anything. So I'll listen to a lot of different kinds of music. I listen to a lot of like I'll have movies on in the background sometimes if I've already seen them and I don't feel invested. If I need to like, there'll be some films that really have a certain like vibe to them, and if I'm working on a certain scene and I want to kind of recreate that vibe, I'll have it on in the background almost as like inspiration a little bit. Like for like wackier scenes, I put a lot of comedies on in the background. I think when I was doing some of the more like slapstick moments, I had the movie Clue on in the background, which is one of my favorites. Yeah, and I like also listen to, I have like, as a lover of video games, I have a lot of like let's plays I'll just put on in the background on YouTube. So someone just playing a video game while I'm like working, it's just nice to have the company in the background. Drawing comics takes a really, really long time. And sometimes you really just need to feel like you've got like a buddy working with you. So having like that kind of parasocial relationship of watching someone play a video game, it's like, I'm not alone. I've got this person playing a video game next to me. So that's like, that's another thing that I don't even want to imagine how many let's plays I went through while I was working on the book, maybe 100.
Yeah. Well, that's so interesting. That's what I was wondering, whether or not sometimes you did theme them to what you were doing and if they creep in. And I think it's really, really interesting that that can happen.
Yeah, definitely.
It's great. Big takeaways that I've written down then. So first off, we all need to be more Abigail. I think that's true of all of us. as I was sat there listening, I was thinking, I am definitely a Clementine. I'm even, you know, down to the cardigan and the bows in the hair and everything. Be more Abigail. That it's important to absorb inspiration, and that we should all be surrounding ourselves by different things that can inspire us. Even if we don't like them, then we know what we don't like, and that can be inspiring in itself. And then last of all, Lucy, what I really hope more than anything from this morning is that you recognise the victory that you have in this book, because it is an absolutely fantastic book. I'm going to show it again. I want everyone to go out and buy it. It is superb. As a school librarian, this is a must-have on my shelves now. It is fantastic. I know that young people will love it, adults will love it. It's hilarious. I can't wait for the next one. So thank you so much. Thank you for talking to us, and thank you for creating this. It's
bless you.
Thank you. Liana and Maddison, fantastic. We are going to start calling you Paxman. I know you're probably too young to get that reference, but you did a very good job there, and I'm really proud of you. So well done, you. And that's it from me. So Cowgirls and Dinosaurs will be published on the 6th of June. It's published by Piccadilly Press, and it will, of course, be available to buy from the Love Reading for Kids website. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's been a fantastic chat.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks for having us.